Look what you did, you little jerk!
What's going on, Jerk Faces? Welcome to another episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast. We, of course, have me and we have Andy. What's going on, Andy?
What up?
And a recurring guest, my dad, who I find very interesting. He doesn't think he is, but he's got a million tales. He's always someone that I envy, is someone who's a great storyteller. And we got him on for actually a couple episodes. We're gonna interview him, and we got another episode that we'll talk about on the next one. So welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, Bruce.
Get me out of the rest home.
Yeah. I've never met a more spry, 60-year-old.
It's having a young wife and trying to keep up with her.
Yeah,
there you go. That's a secret.
You're still the guy that I when I go to the go-kart track that I want to beat the pants off of.
Oh.
Well, anyways, he might not think he's exciting, but I brought him on to interview my dad, who is someone I find very fascinating. He has a lot of interesting stories, and a lot of his. We have a lot of similar interests in the fact that we both enjoy cars. My dad probably even more so than me. Obviously, like more of my interest is in auto racing, which is one of my passions. I love it. But my dad, he's just a car guy. Like anything, if you look in his garage and in the backyard, it's cars galore. Some run, some don't. It's most run, one doesn't at the moment.
Yeah.
But I figure maybe that's a great way to start. Is what, and I'm always kind of interested in this. Is what exactly influenced who or what was your influence for your passion for automobiles?
Yeah, thanks for the great lead in and build up. I'm a very simple-minded man. I like wheels. You roll them and you can chase them and you can catch them. I'm like a self-fetching dog. I'll throw it and chase it. I have you can ask my mom, your grandmother. She doesn't even know. She goes, I would stand at that big bay window and look out at the street, barely big enough to lean against the glass. She actually let me lean against the glass.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, and get fingerprints on it. And I would call out cars as they drove by. I'd go, 59 Chevy, 62 Ford. And she had no idea. Coloring books, car brochures. She has no idea where I was getting my information from or if I was accurate, It could have been a Studebaker Hawk, and I might have said 59 Chevy. But I've just, as long as I can remember, if it had wheels, I liked it. And then my dad, we had one car. My dad had a 56 Chevy wagon, two-door wagon. And even then, the 56 was already iconic.
Oh, it's a beautiful car.
And it had gone through a couple of color changes. It was initially blue and white. Then it was Sierra Golden, Adobe beige, and then it got sideswiped, and now it was becoming an old car, and he just had it painted monotone at Earl Scheib of all places. But it wasn't tragic. And then my mom's first car was a 62 Impala SS.
Oh.
On beige with a red bucket, with a red interior with bucket seats. And
very not bad.
So those are two cars. And I was probably about 13. And one day I came home and my dad had dog dish wheel covers on it, the poverty caps. So you have the big steel wheel and a little, more correctly called a hubcap right in the center with a lot of steel rim exposed. And I came home, my dad had full wheel covers on. And I look at the car and I go, wow, what happened is some guy at work wanted to trade me. Well, I knew what was going on because the poverty caps kind of give on the steel wheel, give it a neat look. And my dad was jazzed. He got full wheel covers out of it. So I come home at 13 and the Chevy is gone and he's got a oxidized gold, beat up 58 VW Beetle. And I look around and I'm 13. So I've already driven the car a few times. It was 3 on the column. And it's like, where's the Chevy? What is this cruel, cruel joke? He goes, I traded it. No, he sold the Chevy and he bought the Volkswagen. And he was driving from Covina to Culver City. So there, hopes of the 56 Chevy were dashed and I had to look for my own car. But I've just always been in the cars, models, building models, customizing them, Hot Wheels, coloring them, drawing them. That's kind of how I became an engineer, because I was a terrible student because all my homework had pictures in the margins, of cars, T-buckets with big blowing motors. And finally, toward high school, they said, there's actually a class where you draw in the margin of the paper instead of in the borders of the paper. Would you like to try that? And so that's actually even how I got even into engineering. So I guess that was a long way around, but I don't know. I've just always liked cars.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like your dad or like, someone that like you're a friend or something like that maybe like got you into it.
My dad used to be a chauffeur a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, worked for the studios. So he appreciated the classics, the Rolls Royces, the Duesenbergs, the Packards, and he would take me to the Concours d'Elegance. And I'd be looking at a V16 Cadillac, and I'd be thinking, man, if you dropped a small block Chevy in here and cut it up and put slicks on it, wouldn't this be cool?
It's like,
it's actually funny, Bruce, because I thought you were setting up for a joke there, because I remember there was this scene in Groundhog's Day where if you're not familiar with the premise, it's Bill Murray lives the same day over and over again. And during like one of the cycles, he decides that he's going to learn piano, and so like obviously the first lesson he's horrible, but then as he keeps taking piano lessons, he gets better and better, and he goes back to the same piano teacher, and then the piano teacher after like a few times and he's gotten really good, the piano teacher asks him, like, oh, and this is your first piano lesson? And then he retorts, it's like, yes, but my father was a piano mover, so.
No.
Yeah, so I thought, because when you said that your dad was a chauffeur for the studios, I thought that was, that was kind of like your like a setup for a joke in that style.
No, but some of the, he's been gone 30 plus years now, but he drove James Cagney, Eddie Cantor. What was the Wicked Witch? Dorothy Burke, I think.
Dorothy Hamilton.
Yeah.
Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz.
Or Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton.
It's something Hamilton. I know it's Hamilton for sure, but I'm just not sure if it's Dorothy or Linda.
For some reason, I'm thinking Dorothy Burke. Maybe she was the Good Witch.
That could be.
That could be it. Yeah, but I know for sure the Wicked Witch was Hamilton.
And Gloria Vanderbilt, the mother.
Oh.
So he had.
Billy Burke is who you're thinking about. That's the Good Witch. Billy Burke is the Good Witch.
Billy Burke. That's it.
Is that Vanderbilt?
Yeah, the mother, not the daughter. So yeah, there was a little bit of car influence, but my dad would deny it. He go, no. And like I did with Robert, I'd start taking him out as soon as he could reach the pedals. It's like, let's start driving.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
You know, I did stuff that Robert never did, which is good. I
Of
don't know if
course,
the
of
statute
course.
of limitations has expired, so I'm not going to tell anything.
Yeah.
My mom is still alive, and I have a son who's still
Right.
left in his.
As far as your mother's concerned, you're a perfect angel.
No, no.
Oh.
He doesn't live under that much delusion.
Okay. I don't know. I think my mother is still kind of under that delusion.
Okay, well, we can set her straight too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as I can remember, I mean, we were always. I mean, either you taking me out to like to drive, and you. Well, I mean, you taught me how to drive on a standard transmission, which I think is pretty much a lost art nowadays.
Yeah.
And then,
Mm.
but I mean, you were always taking me to like the go-kart track. Like, I mean, as long as I can remember.
Pepe's, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow.
Mm.
So if you could beat those little go-karts to within an inch of their life, or in your case, all the way to death. Uh, um,
Oh, we'll have to tell that story. Yeah. I mean, we had so much, and unfortunately, this go-kart track no longer exists. It's right across from Van Nuys. It used to be across the street from Van Nuys Airport, and we would
Oh
go
yeah, I remember
there.
that place.
Yeah, we
yeah,
used to go there
and
probably 2 or 3 times a week almost. I mean, we were there a lot, and I mean, my goal in life was to beat him. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, what kid's dream isn't to beat their dad at something?
honestly, it took a long time for me to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, because like my dad's a fisherman, and he he parted that love onto me. And I remember the first time I caught a bigger fish than him. It was like the best day. It was the best feeling of my life.
yeah. Robert and I, we wouldn't bully the other kids. We were respectful of them, wish they weren't there.
Mhm.
But I remember more than once, Robert and I would pull into the pits, we'd be getting out, and other parents would admonish me, like, dude, it's just playing. Simmer down. You have veins in your teeth. I go, he's my kid. It's okay, because
And,
I
I,
would
and,
put
and
the
if you,
radar on kill, and I would aim, and I'm gonna beat this kid. If I have to bump you out of the way, I would. Although usually
and he did.
trying to pass you clean. It's more fun to pass you clean and just kick sand in your face than to, you know, knock you into the corner and rattle your cage and laugh maniacally.
Right,
Well, I
right.
mean, there was times where like I have learned the art of being able to make it look like I'm passing clean, but I roughed you up at the same time. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when
I taught you well, little grasshopper.
yeah. Well, and I to be honest, like it's funny. Like when I'm not racing him, and like, but I go out with like some of my other friends, and it's just watching their faces as I race. They're like, dude, like we have no. They know they have no shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at them. What's the other place? MB2 or
Like
K1?
MB2, K1. There's a bunch of those places.
I look at these other people. It's like, why are you guys even here? Why don't you just go sit on the freeway? We're racing here.
Exactly. Well, the day I started beating you more consistently is because when we went to the Bondurant Racing School, we went to the shifter kart school, or they've been there before, like done stuff with their road racing school, which is very famous.
Mm-hmm.
But we went together. We went to the shifter kart class, and I learned so much from taking that course, and I've used it ever since. Like
I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
yeah.
So much fun. Oh my God. I was racing up at Horse Thief Mile in shifter carts and I cracked a rib, which
Oh
is kind of
wow.
painful.
A little bit.
I still would jump at the chance to get back in one.
Oh, I really want to do that again. That was so much fun.
It's going through throws though, and they've gone to a different type of cart now. And I think they've gone to a tag cart, touch and go type of thing.
Now that's a shame.
And maybe it's more controllable than a shifter cart with a 6-speed sequential transmission, and 2 Gs in the corners on, this high off the ground. Uh,
I mean,
it's so
you are flying, Andy. You have no idea.
I forget the specs, but it's like 0 to 100 and back to 0 in a couple of seconds.
It's
Wow.
insane. Yeah.
It sounds fun
And,
though.
and you literally are this high off the ground in a go kart, but like a go kart that you've never been in before.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I think I was the only one that did not spin out or wreck in our class.
Our class, and this is funny. So there were 4 of us that showed up for class, 2 pro karters and Robert and I.
Mm.
And I pulled Robert aside and I go, look, those guys, they know what they're doing. We'll just stay out of their way, okay? I'm just, because how old were you, Robert? 16, 18 maybe?
I think I was about like 19 or 20 when we went. So it's pretty
Okay.
young. Yeah.
Those 2 pros took each other out and I don't know if they wrecked the cars or what, but basically it was Robert and I. And I would go by the grandstands. Now I had taken a Corvette course there, and Tracy could sit and watch me race all day. And I'd go flying by the grandstands, and Tracy wasn't there. So finally, I'm talking to her at break. Where do you go? She goes, I just can't stand to see Robert out there racing. And freaked the hell out of her. And it's the same thing when I tried to get Robert on a motorcycle. Tracy just went pale white. And I go, you let me ride. Do you remember what she said?
Yeah, it's like I can. Yeah.
But you're replaceable. He's my only son. Well, I know where I am on the food chain. And it was the same thing with the go-karts. And honestly, there was one corner, it was an off-camber with a
There's
loop
almost
run.
like a corkscrew, like kind of like this off-camber corkscrew corner.
Yeah,
I love that. That was great.
There less than half a dozen times without losing it. And Robert was just cooking. And I really wanted more one-on-one. Do I need to get let off lighter sooner, get onto it quicker? I never figured out what the balance was.
Yeah, it took me about like I took it kind of easy for about a couple of laps while I was kind of figuring out the car, and then I was like, okay, I think I got it, and man, I was cooking.
I've never even driven a sequential transmission before.
No, I had never driven one before.
It's like a paddle shifter in a modern day F1 car. You rev it and bang, it's next gear. I think you lift momentarily. There's no clutch.
Yeah, you pop the gas just a little bit.
Shifting, and neutral is between first and second. It's been so long I don't even remember. But
yeah.
They're tricky, and when you spin them, you usually stall out too, because you can't get the neutral or clutch in quick enough.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, that just sounds confusing.
But this is what we would do so often. It's obviously like one of the things, like once all this pandemic stuff is over, like I really want to hit up the go-kart track and race. I really miss it.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, it sounds good.
That sounds a bit of like a challenge there, Bruce.
Yeah.
You know what? He's still very talented. I know he can beat me. That's why I work so hard. Because I don't like to lose.
That's ingrained in both of us. But if I lose and I lose to you, it's not bad. I take full credit for teaching you everything.
I know, right? It's like, I taught him everything he knows.
That's right.
But no, there was I do remember one time where him and I were racing really hard, and the car that I kept getting was dog shit. It sucked. And it did not it handled like crap. It was slow through the gears. It sucked. And then all of a sudden, I got that car for like a third or fourth time. I was like, God damn it! Like, I don't want to race this car. It sucks. And I took off like a bat out of hell. I mean, this thing was flying, and I probably had about a 3/4 lap of a lead on everybody. And then all of a sudden, I'm coming in out of one of the last corners, which is this very tight hairpin, and I go to get it back on the gas, and it's not all I hear is silence and him just laughing at the top of his lungs. And I look back behind me, and it's just it's smoking like I blew the motor.
Oh, okay.
It was great, Andrew. The pitch actually changed in the motor, it leaned out, and it was like he had nitrous. His car just stood like and you had fully a half track on us because we were about opposite places on the track, but you were a lap ahead of me. And you could just tell it was just screaming, just dead silence. And I just broke up cackling. And yeah, you lost that one, kid.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have like
somebody else's motor than your own.
Yeah, it didn't have like pieces all across the racetrack, but I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of like oil and fluid that it dropped. Mm-hmm. Oh man. Well, okay. Well, since obviously like we don't know where your passion for cars came from, it just kind of appeared one day immaculately.
Yeah, immaculate conception.
Now you did show us kind of a list of cars that you have either own currently or have owned in your lifetime. But is there a car that you have ever desired to have but have never owned?
Yeah. There's a lot of them. And I realized a long time, I'm not Jay Leno. I don't know if you guys knew this. I'm not Jay Leno. I'm not even.
No kidding.
Who's the guy who likes Porsches, who thinks he's funny?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, man. I'm none of those guys. So I'm never going to have all the cars I want. So I try and go through them and own them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So cars that I still want to own would be a 65 Buick Riviera.
Yep. Hey, if the headlights work, I'll take it.
Yeah. And, they're kind of a lead sled lowrider. I'm okay with that. I'd like to have an early K5 Blazer. I'd really like to have probably a big block C2 Corvette, like the sister car to Myrna, maybe like the 67 Coupe.
Okay, yeah.
Those are just a few. One day when I get too old for the fast cars, I might have another Nomad.
All right.
Yeah, those are three cars that when I still see, I still drool a little and go over and look at and start doing math, and Tracy. We're a typhoon came up the other day. I'm trying to remember if it's the Cyclone or the Typhoon. It's the enclosed Blazer.
That's the GMC. That's the GMC. Pretty much like it was the. Pretty much like the Blazer was, back in kind of the smaller.
So it's a proto Blazer.
Yeah.
All-wheel drivetrain in it, and it actually was quicker than the Corvette that year.
That's right.
Wow.
And which upset the brass at Chevrolet. Anyhow, one of those came up recently, and I was showing the ad to Tracy, and she doesn't tell me yes or no anymore. She goes, "Where are you going to put it? What are you going to sell?"
I see.
And so the cars I have right
something
now,
in, something out.
Yeah, because there's no more room at the end, really.
Right.
Cars I have right now, I still really, really like them all. I'm not quite ready to get rid of any of them to bring somebody new in. And I've had, you guys saw the list, I guess. I've had some neat cars over the years.
Mhm.
Some people think it's funny. I've had 3 different Nomads, and I currently own a Vega. They go, "Oh, dude, you're doing it backwards," you know. But you like what you like. The heart wants what the heart wants,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and the mind is just along for the ride.
Yeah. um, of the cars that you have owned, what was your favorite?
Along with that list I sent,
Mhm.
I've also done a version with a bio for each car, like a little. Yeah, it's and every single car I've had, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe, the Porsche was a blast. I had a Porsche 911 SC.
That's a great car.
It is, and it's a handful to drive because this was, the new ones have all the computers and the electronics to keep the front end pointing that way.
That's not
This
fun.
was a 79, all the power and all the weight was behind you.
Mhm.
So the back end, the front end would get light and the back end could snap around you. You really had to watch it driving. It was a very rewarding car to drive fast. Um, and what I found, I drove it because it was a great car. What I found was there was an element of society, and I'm not quite sure how to word this, and I was single at the time, that wanted to be with me because of the car I drove. And I go, no, no, no. I don't know how that sounds, That isn't
We
how
call them
this.
gold diggers, Dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least the car is a chick magnet. There you go. The car's a chick magnet.
It wasn't why I had the car at all.
Of course
Right.
not. Of course not, Bruce. Of course not.
No, it was that replaced my RX-7. So I had an RX-4 that I think I showed pictures of the
Yeah,
last.
we showed pictures
That
of
was
this.
my first car, and God, I built that into a stupid, wicked, quick car. And it was just too high strung for the street. I mean, it could foul plugs idling at a red light.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow.
I I carried points and plug. This was pre-electronic ignition.
Mm.
So I had to carry points and plugs and a plug cleaner with me. Had a little thing hooked up to the battery, and it was a little sandblaster, so I could clean the plugs off, put a dab of uh, anti-seize on, and screw them back in, and be on the road again. Way too high strung. Wicked quick.
You belong on a racetrack, not on the street.
I know, right? Seriously.
Yeah. And it was modeled very closely after my friend's road racing RX-2, from the Bridgeport, the plugs, the timing, the exhaust manifold, the intake. It was just, but I could race a Honda 750, which used to be a quick motorcycle, through the quarter mile and beat it.
Wow.
And I did try and race a Cow 900, and it beat me. So I found out where my threshold was. And I never raced a Cow 900 again. I only need to be spanked once. Then I got the RX-7, which was a much sportier looking car, but pedestrian slow compared to the RX-4. And so I started souping that up, and I actually slapped myself around. I said, no, 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 no. Don't go down that hole again. It was a lot of money and a lot of time, and basically you built something undrivable. So I sold the 7, and I got the 911 FC, and I only owned it for between 6 to 9 months before somebody else wanted it more than me and stole it from Universal Studios.
Oh geez.
Wow,
I didn't know
really?
that car was stolen.
Huh?
I didn't know that car was stolen.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
damn, that sucks.
yeah,
I thought
and
you had sold it. I didn't realize that one was stolen.
no, it was stolen from Universal Studios, the old days. And so I had to walk home from Universal.
Oh.
And I was living near Burbank and Sepulveda at the time, so that was quite a walk.
Oh wow, yeah, jeez.
God.
That's like that's half the valley.
That's a rough night.
Yeah.
And, so that hurt because I hadn't had it long enough to get paid out really. So and I was just tired of driving a nice car, if you will. So that's when I went to my 84, 85 El Camino,
Okay.
which was a Conquista, black and silver.
Ooh.
And I immediately started changing that. I put in the Thrush turbo muffler, and it was a 305 with a TH350, and it's only a 3-speed automatic, but a nice little rumble to it, and a purr more than a rumble. And it wasn't obnoxious at all, not near as obnoxious as I can be. And I went by a used car lot here in the valley somewhere, and the guy had an older El Camino with rally sports on it because I had the die-cast snowflakes on it, and they were a 14. So I talked the guy at the dealership into trading me wheels straight across. So I got a set of 15-inch rally sports for my El Camino, and his was a late 70s where they were very bulbous. And I put it on these little 14s, and I got out of there before he realized he had made a mistake.
You got fleeced, son.
Yeah, that car had an interesting problem, but I don't know. I've kind of wandered away from the question. In fact, I don't remember what the question was.
What was your favorite car
that you've owned?
Yeah, that you've owned.
Yeah, they're all, it'd be like picking, if I had more than one kid that had lived,
right, this would be your Sophie's choice.
Yeah.
Well, would be my second choice, He's my first choice. But it's almost like each car was special in its own little way. I had fun. We have stories, and they have to move on. And, eventually I'll probably get rid of a couple of the ones I have here.
As long as it's not the 64 Corvette or the XLR, then I'm okay.
The XLR keeps winding up on that list. And
I love that car.
And then I drive it, and I go, this car is so bitch.
It's a great car.
I drive it once a year. Do you know how much that car costs to keep insured and maintenance and smog to drive it once a year? You should buy it. But that is one of the ones. The 64, that's a keeper forever. And the Trailblazer SS is really fun.
Yeah, a mutual friend of ours has that same car, although his is black.
Okay. Yeah, they're a blast, and they're coming back up in their value.
Yeah.
Especially clean ones. The yellow Corvette, I've got it personalized so much, and that's a keeper too. The truck, they just don't build that body style anymore. And the Vega is some kind of weird, twisted, perverted passion that to answer your question directly, which car have I had in the past that I would want again? Apparently, it's a V8 Vega.
Is this like your fifth or sixth Vega?
This would be number 5.
Okay.
5 Vegas, wow.
And they've all been wagons.
Yeah, that's right.
Talk about having a type.
What's that?
I said talk about having a type.
Yeah.
It is a pretty cool car, especially the wagon, which is just, it looks like it's oh, this is, it's a nice little wagon, and then it blows your doors off, and it's like, what the hell was that thing?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun. You remember, I don't know if you remember riding in the back of it or not, Robert, but
Not too much, no.
it looked, it wasn't a full-on like pro street racer. It was kind of a sleeper, except for the big L88 hood. So I would engage in, I want to be careful the wording I use, but let's say enthusiastic acceleration against other vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And one was a brand new Fox body Mustang rolling on the freeway. And the guy had his windows down. And I pick him up, it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. And I pull up beside him, bounce the front end a little, and we take off. And I just smoke the guy. So he pulls back up beside me. And I swear to God, the windows go up. Dude, it isn't wind drag, okay? So down to 3, we take off. I smoke him again. One of my wheel covers, trim ring, passes me while I'm racing the guy. That was fine. The trim ring beat the Vega, which beat the Mustang. And then there was another incident. I didn't have the rear end geometry dialed in real well. So if I got on it too hard, the rear end would get axle wind up and the rear end would just hop up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Violently enough that the rearview mirror would shake out of position. And I'd back off and it'd grab and I'd jump on it. Same thing I do with the go-kart. It's a binary switch, on or off, on or off, on or off. And this 911 was 911 SC. And I smoked the guy handily, but he pulled up to me at the next light. It was pretty cool. He goes, I couldn't beat you, but even if I could, I don't know if I would have, because I didn't know which way that thing was going to go next. So he got a little dig in while he went home and licked his wounds.
Mm.
But yeah, you put 450 horsepower on something that weighs 2,300 pounds, and you get a pretty good power to weight ratio.
Oh, yeah.
Which is about what the one is that we're building now. It's conservatively 450 and 2,300 pounds, give or take. And we're doing this one much better than we did the ones in the days of old.
Mm.
Mm.
So that was your answer.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, yeah, I think that the Vega is probably your favorite. Like, you've already owned 5 of them, so.
I like lobster, but it doesn't mean I can't enjoy tuna fish.
Exactly.
And, tuna fish budgets, although the money I have into this Vega, I could have built a 72 Camaro for the same amount of money and with a lot less aggravation. Because parts is parts. When you're buying speed parts, they don't have, it fits a Vega, you get the stupid guy discount. And nothing is made for Vegas, so everything has to be fabricated or altered or beat to fit. But yeah, I definitely could have built a Camaro for the same money or less.
I mean, you're pretty much down to like getting it all like wired in now, isn't it? It's all done.
Wired in gap fuel lines and then swapping the dash out.
Yeah, but it's almost there.
It's close.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's from everything that you've been talking to us about, like, because one of the other curiosities is, what really got you into, auto racing, and I mean, obviously you were doing a lot of your own activities,
extracurriculars. Yeah, you've had a lot of your own extracurriculars.
So back in the 70s, when I had that Mazda, I was in a car club called Scoot, Sports Car Owners and Other Things. That tan jacket mom wears that says Scoot on the back, that's how old that is. That was
oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And we were a car club, and what we did, we made our money by flagging for the guys from Porsche Owners Club and Porsche Club of America when they would rent Riverside Raceway or Willow Springs for time trial day. They would call our club and we would flag for them. So we made a couple $100. The club would show up. We'd work all the corner works. We also, from there, we broadened our way into working for USAC.
Oh, that's pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, which was precursor to IndyCar.
Yeah.
But I was the only guy in the club who really had a borderline race car. So when we would go out to, we even did Phoenix a few times in the old tri-oval layout. When we'd drive out to a club or a track, I always managed to get a few hot laps in. And then they'd go, Bruce, you're supposed to go turn 3. I go, oh, I missed it. So I drove all the way around. I'll stop the next time because we would drive out to the corner and then park behind the guardrail or the Armco, whatever you want to call it. And so I always got a few hot laps in. And then we would flag for the Porsche event. And so I got that in. And, back then we had something called Malibu Grand Prix, so I would race there. It was a little bit, I certainly don't want to sound like I'm endorsing street racing, if that ever happened.
Allegedly, could it be?
It was a very different San Fernando Valley than it is today. If you know where the fire station is on Woodley?
Yeah.
Just after you crest the train tracks, they would shut that down at night and race from in front of the fire station and shut down before Satakoy, if I've got the street names right, from the train tracks.
Yeah. Just to pass Roscoe, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. You guys are right in front of a fire station. This isn't exactly secret.
Yeah.
No, actually, at night, where I live, there's a stretch that runs through like this industrial area. They're racing
all the time.
They're racing all the time. Like I hear it at night.
When I work in your area in the morning, and they're constantly doing stuff over like 2:00 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
So back in the day, we used to cruise Van Nuys Boulevard from Bob's to Bob's, basically. So one was near Magnolia and the other was up in Roscoe. And you were cruising looking for a couple of things, but one of them would be a good drag race. And you would go over on Raymer, which was in an industrial park.
Yeah.
And one of the few cars that ever beat the Mazda was a V8 Vega. And he didn't hit me till he hit the nitrous, or he didn't beat me till I had him through first and second. He hit the bottle and he passed me like I threw a boat anchor out. Oh, things are fast. They always kind of scared me after that. But Raymer, and there was another industrial street that was pretty common for that type of subversive activity that I read about in the papers. I was never.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Could it be allegedly?
Yeah. And again, I'd rather. That was racing in an industrial park. It's not a street takeover. It's not doing donuts in the middle of an intersection. Just
Right.
And then you go back and you maybe make a few bucks or not, and you go back and you cruise the boulevard for another hour or two, and just have fun. And that was an entire culture, whether you were a lowrider or in a van or in a mini truck or in an American car, and nobody knew what the Mazda was at the time.
Right.
The road engine, and it was fully debadged. Nobody knew what it was. And we were just car people. And I still, especially in my line of business selling the car care products, whether you're a lowrider or a tuner or whatever, it's cars, and I respect them all.
Yeah.
Guys with rat rods and mat wraps, I don't respect because they don't buy enough wax. No, it's different things, but yeah, respect them all, and not really sure how I got into that. It just kind of, you know, as you play with cars, you start pushing them to their limits, and how do you push something to its limit as you race it?
The other thing I was, because obviously, like we were talking about this a little bit, before we started recording, but obviously, Andy's, I'm getting there. I'm wearing Andy down to have him,
No. He thinks he's wearing me down.
to watch, auto racing, and it's like, oh no, you got to check this out. This is, this is great. And but like, because I know, my love for, especially NASCAR, comes from you. I love all motorsports essentially, but like, where did that come from? Like, where, how did you get introduced to that, and start my obsession with auto racing?
Well, it was something clean that we could do together.
Yeah.
There's always been, see, where I grew up, we grew up close enough that we could hear the original Irwindale Speedway on a Friday and Saturday night.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And so it's watching racing, although we did it together for years, it was like, seriously, it was something father and son did for bonding. Yes, let's have a little bonding. Watching it has always, it's never struck me as a spectator sport. It's, I should be out there doing that. It's, the only one I can think, analogy I can think of is totally inappropriate, but it's like watching porn instead of having sex. Why is this even on the table? Clearly, I want to be racing the car. There, I brought it back to the, so we enjoy it.
It's more fun doing than watching.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other analogies that would be more family friendly, but that was the only one I could think of.
We've never really been family friendly here, so
that's fine.
So we had our favorite drivers. Obviously, we would root for Chevy to win, and I enjoy the IMSA WeatherTech series a lot because they have 4 different classes of cars racing at the same time. So you have some markedly faster cars with pro drivers racing against amateur drivers in slower cars. So it gets real entertaining. And some of those cars are based on, they're race cars, but they start life as a factory car.
Well, and those are, they have a lot of those, like, endurance races. They're doing like 24-hour, races where, you'll have, 2 or 3 or 4 drivers that are going through and racing throughout, a 24-hour period. And it's kind of this, not only endurance for the drivers, but, the cars as well. And it shows a lot of the, cars performance. And it's a badge of honor for, a manufacturer to win one of those things, because say, hey, we beat out everyone else. Not only do we have great drivers, but our car was better than, theirs.
Ford v Ferrari is, 24 hours. They finish boom, boom, boom within a blanket's distance of each other, throw a blanket over all 3 cars. And Ford got huge marketing out of that.
For years. Yeah, for years.
And again, more so back then than today. Race on Sunday, win on Monday, sell on
race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Out, Andrew. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Right.
You started my obsession with, especially with NASCAR. I mean, we've been watching, or I at least have been watching for, majority of my life now. And I talk about, my favorite, period of NASCAR was the late 80s, throughout the 90s, early 2000s, where, my obviously like we rooted for Chevy, but we were huge Earnhardt fans. That which was always fun rooting for him, and then you get guys like Jeff Gordon, who we ended up rooting for, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Guys like that we enjoyed watching. But the racing was just, I don't know, it was very exciting.
You could root for the driver and for the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was fun. And that's, I enjoyed watching it with you. I think the racing was better, and it was something we could do because I couldn't necessarily strap you in a baby seat and race on Mulholland when you were 16. It worked better when you were a baby, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but then the state might get involved, and that's a whole thing.
Well, and even to that point, things were different when Robert was a child than they are today.
Oh yeah.
As we went through cars, Andy, eventually, as Robert was a wee young lad, I wound up with the Beretta. Well, actually, it was even before the Beretta. I had a VW Super Eagle. I'd gone back to my origins. And he was a cranky sleeper. So I would put the baby seat in the back seat and strap it down with a lap belt.
Right.
And something about the back seat of a Volkswagen and the cacophony of the little pistons jumping in opposing directions would put him out. But we would go up on Mulholland. And I had Coney shocks and big tires and a little Momo steering wheel and a short throw shifter and a 1600 dual port in it. So I hot rod. If my lawnmower's got a gas motor, I'm going to hot rod it, okay? I didn't have a fast Volkswagen, but I had faster than stock.
Yeah, maybe that's something that you can do there, Bruce. Like wheel it hot rod.
Yeah.
Take this Volkswagen down like to the rock store, and as I'm going through the switchbacks, Robert was like a metronome. As the baby seat would flip from side to side. Because the lap belt only kept him from going through the windshield.
Right, yeah.
And he would giggle and laugh until he'd fall asleep. And, it was all good fun. But today you'd probably be arrested for child endangerment.
Yeah.
Different times. Different times.
It's, that's why we got a generation of snowflakes, because they didn't grow up with their father putting them in the back seat of a car.
Yeah, just like, and just
bag of potatoes.
But I was always kind of curious how all that got started, and I know like cars is like that's kind of like the one thing that, I mean, there's many other things, but that was one of the few things that like we did together, and like I said, watching racing, that was a Sunday ritual, and then we'd go out and we'd go out racing together. And that was just really something that we really bonded over a lot.
Yeah, typically after the race was over, we'd run down to Papp base.
Yeah.
And the guy who ran it had a daughter named Harley, if you remember.
That's right, yeah.
So I would pick up a couple of T-shirts at the Harley shop, and Robert and I would basically be able to race, depending on crowds, as long as we wanted for a couple of T-shirts.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was win-win.
Yeah, we were there all the time.
Yeah.
Andy, you got any more questions for my dad, or anything that you're curious about?
Not necessarily. I just, Bruce, again, the testament to your storytelling skills.
Yeah.
Like, I was very riveted, at, you recounting your, days. Yeah, I mean, in terms of questions, not really. Yeah, this is all very fascinating. I really, really enjoyed this.
Well, thanks. I just, I eat, breathe, sleep cars, and I never leave well enough alone, and always enjoy sharing whatever tales I may have, and the ones I can.
Yeah, right. I think I think that might be an idea that you should toy with the concept of doing like making content online, like Will it Hot Rod.
Yeah. Like you said, he's like Tim Taylor from Home Improvement, where it's like
Yeah,
more
like more power. Yeah.
Stock has never did. My truck, when I bought this truck, now I haven't done any power mods to it, but it's because I figure I need one that is reliable for a daily driver. But yeah,
Right.
it's just there's so much I could do to that truck, and I just have to kick myself and say, no, don't leave
Yeah,
that alone.
right. A little restraint. A little restraint is good.
Yeah, and I've got other vices, the Vega and the Corvette and the
Mhm.
motorcycle that I can still play with. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go.
it makes the struggle easier.
Yeah, so you have other outlets,
Yeah,
it would be another way of saying it. You have other outlets.
yeah. I quit acid, but I've still got heroin.
Oh,
Well, all
geez.
right. Well, that I figured this would be something that I know my dad's like super passionate about. He's got a lot to say, especially it kind of a one-track mind. I mean, if you get him to talk about cars, I mean, we could be here for hours. Trust me, he's got so many stories.
And that's what I was thinking. And, if this never makes it to air, that's what, you might find it more interesting than anyone else. And yeah, because I could tell tales about any of the vehicles and, you know, they're just, they come a part of my life for a while. So
Yeah. Well, I thank you for coming on and answering some of the questions that we had for you and sharing stories that like I didn't even know. So that's always a fun thing. Learning new things. So where can people find you? I know you have stuff because you sell car care products. Where can people hit you up for that?
I'm on Instagram, Bruce, the number 4, Adams, and also on Hotmail, Bruce for the number 4, Adams at hotmail.com.
All right.
And yeah, come by, pick up some Adams premium car care products.
It's good stuff, folks. I should have worn my Adams gear. I didn't think of that, but that's
Well, if it helps, I ceramic coated my tablet screen before we went on the air, so take any of my wrinkles out though.
You know what? Like it's not it works on cars very well, but it also works in some household items as well.
It does.
I use it on
Yeah,
my
dual
fridge
purposes.
every week or so.
Dual purposes.
Well, anyways, that's the episode. Thank you guys for joining. You can reach us on our social medias, at Podcast COJ on Letterboxd and on Twitter. And our Instagram is Circle of Jerks Podcast. And like my dad said, he's on Instagram at Bruce for Adams. And yeah, that's the episode for today. And we will see you next time.
Deuces.